Hey, everybody, if you love combat sports in all forms, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to the Drewsperience show that's 100% combat sports on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We're growing quick. We're growing fast. Just want to say thanks to a few supporters quick. Kyokushin Karate Boucherville and Karate Joanne Fournier. You're looking to get in traditional martial arts. Check them out. Martial arts is a great way to learn new values in and out of the dojo or academy. And also, my favorite coffee place, Espresso Bar 1720. When I need an extra boost of cafe, I go to this family-owned Italian barista because they know when it's time to go clutch. And with that, my guest today, the definition of perseverance. You know, he's fighting, he's the number 4 ranked contender in Bellator in the middleweight division, a stacked middleweight division. And he is what I would call raw American steel. So Colby Covington, you shut the fuck up saying that you're raw American steel. This man has the title to it. Only him, weighing in at 185. He could be a model. The one, the only Dalton Hercules Rosta. Here we go. Welcome to the show, Dalton.
Thanks for having me, bro. You're cracking me up already.
I told you I bring something different to my show. I don't want you to be like, oh, I did another podcast. I want you to remember this hour that we do. So when then you could tell your guys at Top Team and others, hey, you want to get on shows. There's this one guy. He knows what he's doing. He makes his guests feel like they're ready to do the walkout. So that's how I want you to feel that way when you're on the show. And then that way it spreads positivity. And a big shout out to Dylan Rush, who was able to connect us. So I want to give a huge thanks to him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be talking to you today.
Awesome.
So yeah, man. So how's everything been? You know, you had an easy day off and, you know, we're at the XFL. So what's it? So other than that, like, you're just getting ready for the next opponent they give you, or you're just right now kind of focused on training until that bout notice comes?
Honestly, I'm not even training right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dealing with a little bit of an injury,
and
just working through it. I got some stem cells, some PRP, and some other stuff done. I've been doing some therapy, you know, taking care of it, doing some strength and exercises. And I don't know how long I'm going to be out for exactly, but I've been lifting, been doing strength and conditioning, stuff that I can still do with the injury, but I haven't been in the gym really at all. I'm going to try and get back this week, you know, and ease into it. But we'll see how it goes from there. And then hopefully a fight in the near future after that.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, look, keep it up. You know, obviously you're number 4 ranked. So right now you have there's some reward in that. However, the real goal is getting to that belt and then representing Steel Town as the champion.
I'm the self-proclaimed number 4. I'm actually ranked number 5. Just want to, for anybody that's going to be critical of the podcast and what we're saying, John Salter's ranked number 4, but the guy's been avoiding me like the plague. He was doing just like Romero Cotton was. You know, we were supposed to fight on 3 separate occasions. Me and John, you know, nothing was there was no pen to paper, and there was no contract signed. There's contracts even given, but the name's been thrown at me 2 separate times. We said yes on my end. Fight never came to fruition. I don't know what the deal is with that, but you know, that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, it seems John is also someone that, like, one thing I want to make clear here when people watch my shows is like, I try to be as unbiased as I can, but I'm not perfect. I have my biases too, you know, like Costello Van Stennis was supposed to get a rematch with Salter, and, you know, John's just doing the same thing. You know, I think he just wants to hold that gatekeeper title, you know, just to say he's in the top 5. But I mean, it's like, if that should be a fight you're getting, and if he's avoiding it, then hey, like, I don't know what the holdup is. It's time. Let's get something going here. You know, this could be this, like, a big the step you need to get to that title shot.
Yeah, and I know he's fighting Aaron Jeffrey coming up March 31st. I think Aaron Jeffrey's going to win that fight. But besides this fight coming up, you know, if you look at the current top 10, who's he fought? He hasn't. You know, he lost to Johnny, the champ. Besides that, you look at the rest of the top 10, who's he fought in the top 10? And like you said, Costello Van Stennis isn't even in the top 10 anymore due to inactivity. He got taken out of the rankings. He's somebody that I think should be in that spot over John Salter, you know, in the top 5.
Amazing.
Yeah. With John Salter, like I said, you look at the entire top 10. You got Gegard Mousasi, Fabian Edwards, Anatoly Tokov, him, me, Austin Vanderford. Lorenz Larkin's still in the rankings, but he moved down to 170. I don't know what they're doing with that. Romero Cotton. Then they had Anthony Adams. He just got dropped out for Khalid Murtazaleev after Khalid won his last fight. Besides that, I mean, then you got I skipped over Aaron Jeffrey. Aaron Jeffrey's also in there, but he lost to Musasi. He lost to Johnny, and this is his first fight in the top 10. Besides that, he's only fought once in the past year, and the last one was a loss. And the fight before that was a loss. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. I mean, how's the dude ranked number 3? How? It just doesn't make sense to me. And obviously, the rankings are going to iron themselves out. But I mean, they've been around for over a year now, and he's still number 3. And he's on a 2-fight losing skid. Has no wins over the current top 10. I have 2. I'm on an 8-fight winning streak. I'm 8-0, and he's somehow ranked above me. That being unbiased, we're looking at strength of schedule and record, body of work, everything. I think the top 10 should be Gegard Mousasi, number 1, Anatoly Tokov, number 2, me, number 3, maybe Costello or Fabian Edwards at number 4. And, I mean, you can put 5 through 10, however you choose. But I think that should be the top 5, including the champion.
Amazing.
In my personal opinion, that's without bias. I would put, just based off of body of work and strength of schedule, Anatoly Tokov over me just because he's 32-3. He was on a 7-fight winning streak in Bellator. I'm on an 8-fight, but my first 3 fights were developmental fights. So I've only had 5 fights with stiff competition. 2 of them are the top 10. But now that I'm thinking back on it, Anatoly Tokov hasn't really fought anybody top 10 either. I don't know. It works weird. But looking at it from my perspective, I think Anatoly Tokov is a worthy opponent. I think Fabian Edwards is a worthy opponent. I think Costello Vancinis is a worthy opponent. These are names. Gegard Mousasi, obviously. These are names, and these are guys that, their bodies of work, their record speaks for itself. Their strength of schedule, everything. Their past 5 to 10 fights. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Makes sense. I understand completely. So that's amazing there to do some current talk just to get started, get everyone amped. The first thing I want to ask is, let's separate you being Hercules before you got the name, before you became a fighter, before you were supposed to be, as when I was listening to the Simon Arias podcast, you were an amazing football player and you wanted to be a wrestler. What was your upbringing like from where you came from?
Starting when
you were a kid, from, let's say, I'd say 8 years old to adolescence. So that's where I like to start. So who was Dalton Rosta before the fame?
So 8 years old. I wasn't even wrestling at that time. I started wrestling when I was 6 years old. My dad was the one that kind of got me into it. Me and my brother both wrestled. My younger brother was actually a better wrestler than me. He was a couple times state champ. He was ranked in the top 5, I believe, in the country, USA Wrestling. He had multiple state championships. He won just about every tournament he went to. And then me, on the other hand, I was a late bloomer in that sense. I didn't do very well. I lost interest, and I got out of it for a few years. And then obviously I was playing football too. Football was kind of my first love, and I stuck to that. You fast forward a couple years. My dad went to the military. My mom and my dad split up. Some personal issues between those two went on whenever he was away in Iraq. He fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And we moved out to Arizona whenever he came back. And that was when I was 9 or 10 years old. And we moved to Mesa. No wrestling program or anything out there. I was living with my mom. I didn't want to. I wanted to live back with my dad. Basically, my mom wouldn't let me. She was holding a lot of things over my dad's head. She kind of just got up and left without us. The custody battle wasn't going well for him. And I saw an opportunity. She wouldn't even let us really go back. In 6th grade, and during winter break, I wanted to go visit my dad. So she let me go visit. And whenever I got there, me and my dad were just I was like, I want to wrestle again. he got me into boxing while I was there. And I just told him, like, I want to stay. And I was like, I don't want to go back. I was dealing with a lot of abuse and neglect growing up with my mom. I'll save the details. But I did not like it where I was at. The opportunities weren't there. Like I said, the upbringing wasn't ideal. We were very poor on both sides, my dad and my mom, but that wasn't a deciding factor for me. It was the opportunities being given out in Arizona, and also on top of that, the way that my mother was treating me, and treating just all of us kids in general. So when I got the opportunity to go back, I went back. We stayed. She tried fighting it in court, but long story short, she ended up dropping it. So I stayed in Pennsylvania until I graduated, barring a couple trips back and forth to Arizona based off of trouble getting into a school district with wrestling in PA at the time as well. But there was rough times, man. My dad was working, 60, 70-hour weeks and trying to send me to just scrape up enough money to send me to wrestling camps. And he'd get up for work at 4:30 a.m., be at work at 5:30, work all day while I'm at school. I'd wrestle at wrestling practice right after school. And he'd pick me up from wrestling practice right off of work and drive me anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours away, depending on where we were going, whether it was Reynolds or Cannonsburg or Washington or Du Bois to wrestle, or Reynolds to wrestle with guys that were state champs, to get better with like guys like Austin Matthews and Tom Slay and Cody Weirchalk. And they were the big names for wrestlers in Pennsylvania. That was my goal. I wanted to be a state champ. And he wanted it for me as well. He wanted it just as much as I did. So he was scraping up money to send me to these wrestling camps. He was spending all of his time taking me to all these places whenever he's probably dead tired with no money for gas, really, driving me halfway across the state to help me improve and help me reach my goals. Where on the other hand, whenever I was with my mother, if an opportunity like this presented itself, for example, I'll give you one time that it did when I was out there my sophomore year in the wintertime to wrestle. And my dad ended up paying for a wrestling camp out there with Eric Larkin was the coach's name. He wrestled at Arizona State. He paid for it, with money he really didn't have. And my brother got grounded for something. She took his Xbox away, his Xbox 360. Mine was still in my room. I was at football practice that day or lifting after school. And supposedly she came home and caught him playing on my Xbox in my bedroom. So what she does, instead of taking my Xbox away and making sure he can't play it and, disciplining him more, she decides to beat my ass. And then she takes the Xbox away. And then she tells me I can't go to the wrestling camp the following day that my dad already paid for. Like any of this was my fault. So that's the type of stuff that I dealt with. She took opportunities away my dad gave me. So that was a big reason why I wanted to move back. And even being back for a short period of time, pretty much just for the reason of being in a wrestling school district, just so I could wrestle. It wasn't working to my benefit because she was taking those opportunities away, even though that they were there. And so this is a funny story, actually. The next morning, I thought she was bullshitting. Next morning, woke up, I knocked on her door. She was like, "No, you're not going. I told you I'm not taking you." She went back to sleep. And I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, I don't know anybody that's going that can give me a ride. So I was just like, fuck it. I ended up stealing her keys off of her nightstand while she was sleeping. And I didn't even have my license yet. I was 15 years old, didn't have my license. I think I had my permit, but did not have my license. I took her car that she ended up claiming me on her taxes when I was with my dad for 5 years straight. And she got the return money for me. And then the plan was that if she got the return money for me, she was going to give the money that she got for the return to let me buy like a beater car to learn to drive and all this other stuff. She ended up using it to buy herself a car. I took that car and drove to the high school where the wrestling camp was going to be. halfway through, after the first intermission, after the first half of the seminar or camp that day, whatever you want to call it, the coach comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, can I pull you to the side?" So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So he pulls me to the side. He takes me outside. Nobody else around. He didn't like disturb any of the other coaches or any of the other wrestlers that were there. I walk outside. Pops outside, like 4 or 5 of them. They end up handcuffing me, putting me in the back of the car. Yeah, take me to the police station, and she ends up showing up there, taking me home. But they almost pressed charges on me at the time. She almost had me thrown in juvenile detention because of it.
Whoa.
Yeah, luckily she ended up pulling charges, but I'm surprised I didn't get in trouble because I didn't have my license. But they didn't even ask me for my license, so they kind of dropped the ball on that. But that's one example of stuff she would do where she would take opportunities away. Where on the other hand, he's spending money he doesn't have, spending time he doesn't have, and putting miles on his car that he can't afford to take me to all these different places and pay for me to go to all these other places and drive me to all these other places whenever he's on pretty much no sleep, maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep, because practice might be at 7 p.m. We're wrestling until 8:30, 9 o'clock, and we have 2-hour drive home. Get home by 11:30, and then he's going to bed, getting up at 4 o'clock again. And he did this, never complained about it at all. I mean, my dad, he was hard-headed, and we always didn't see eye to eye. We butted heads a lot. We were a lot alike, but he never complained about shit like that. And it was because he was helping me, and he wanted to help me.
That's amazing. And honestly, like, just hearing that story, like, some will say, "Oh, well, there's 2 sides to every story," but listen, they're not living in your shoes. And we hear these stories about like how when divorces happen, it's just tragic when the kids get caught in the middle. And it seems like just unfortunate circumstances. Like you were like, I wouldn't say a casualty, but you just got caught in the whole crossfire, and you redeemed yourself. You just persevered through always finding a way. And when you were with your dad, because based on what you're telling me, even though he was hard-headed, when you were with him in that environment compared to your mom, did you feel more free, where you could be your creative self with wrestling? You could do more, and you believed in yourself because your dad was giving you those opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And even ever since I was young, it was, I don't know where the interest came from, but I was always gravitating towards like fighting, whether it be wrestling or boxing, or even put me in jiu-jitsu at a young age when I was like 7 years old, 8 years old, just to try it out. And it was very brief, I remember it was at this guy named John Rozai's, and at the time he didn't even have his own dojo. He just had mats in his basement, and he matted up the walls and matted up the floor, and he was taking me there. The guy ended up getting his own dojo later, but my dad took me to a place called Wrecking Crew Jiu-Jitsu, owned by Mike Demko in Newcastle, when I was 12 again, and I did jiu-jitsu then as well. I was boxing when I was 11, so I was always dabbling back and forth in all these different things. But it was even before that, When I was a little kid, I was watching wrestling. I was always watching like Dragon Ball Z. Like nice. I was on YouTube, like watching fights all the time. There was always this interest in fighting for me, and I don't know why. And it's something I always wanted to do. And I don't know if it's for the reason of like, when you're locked in a cage with somebody, you're fighting somebody. When you're wrestling with somebody, boxing somebody, it's one-on-one. There's nobody else in there to fight you. You have the people that trained you during the camp. You have your sparring partners that helped you, but there's nobody else in there but you and your opponent. There's nobody else that can help you but you. And at the end of the day, whoever wins is whoever was a better man. Sometimes it's the person who worked harder. Sometimes it's the person that was more talented. At the end of the day, regardless of which one it was, the better man, for whatever reason that they were the better man that night, they won. And there's just something that to me that always interests me about like becoming the absolute best, and with other sports like football, basketball, baseball, you have teams around you helping. And it's not something as personal or as, in this case, whenever you're winning, as glorious as fighting or wrestling. Whenever you're stepping off that mat and you, or out of the cage, and that you were the better man, and you imposed your will on that person and they couldn't do anything about it.
So true. I'm the same way when I do my because I do full contact karate, the one that GSP did, Kyokushin, and it's like it's the same thing. When you step on that, what we call tatami, there's like that sense of glory whenever you like whether you place first, second, or third. We just do what the minority dream of. We are the 1% in that sport.
Exactly. And like you said, in first, second, and third with wrestling, at the end of every tournament, you step on a podium and it goes like usually first through eighth place. You know, there's some really big tournaments with a lot of people. And when you take the pit, whenever you get the gold medal around your neck and you're standing at the top of the podium and you have people to your left, people to your right, all below you, it's like in the picture, when people see the picture, it's like that guy at the top beat everybody there. You know, he's better than everybody there. He was the best man that day.
Mm-hmm. So you said you like Dragon Ball Z. Who was your character in that series?
Vegeta. I resonate with a lot of the things that he says, you know, and a lot of the way he carries himself.
Amazing. I like future Trunks. For me, not the Trunks in the Majin Buu saga. We're talking the Trunks when he fights Frieza up to the Cell saga. He's just like that's the Trunks that I like fuck with because I know what you mean. Like you resonate with Vegeta. For me, like future Trunks, he's got those good qualities about him, but he's also got those conflicted qualities where he wants to do more, but he knows it's like it holds him back in a sense. So I could see where you like Vegeta more. I like that choice. I like Goku or I like this, but no, I like that. You're the first one that said they like Vegeta, and my close friend is like, I'm a Broly guy. He's like, who the fuck are these people liking Gohan, Goku? He's like, I like Broly, bro.
Oh, Broly's awesome too, but Vegeta's my favorite. I can't stand people that like Gohan. That's what people that like Gohan are so, and their arguments for him like being a fan for him or him being the most powerful at separate times throughout the anime is just ridiculous. I don't understand how anybody could be a fan of him.
It's like being a fan of John Salter. Oh, shots fired in a sense. You gave you gave me the opportunity there. I just had to do that there because like yeah, I know what you mean. And
I like the way you think, man.
Thank you. I like the way you think too, man. Like we're kind of alike as we were talking, you know, we have more in common. But your dad, you know, obviously, you know, first of all, the way you speak about him is amazing. And you know, this is hard to ask, but you know, obviously, I was gonna ask this, you know, obviously he passed away from some stuff. And when he passed away, what went on in your head? Because he was there for you through your journey. And just tell me about like what had happened exactly and what was going on in your mind in that time. Oh.
1 second.
It's okay, guys. He's coming back. He's got a French bulldog, so he's got to make sure.
I was actually going to end the call, but you called me out. It's like, yeah, the dog almost got outside. The door's cracked. Okay. But to answer your question, me and my dad were actually fighting. We weren't seeing eye to eye right before his accident happened. So he got in a motorcycle accident, and that's what caused him to be in the hospital for 2 weeks before he passed. He was hit by a drunk driver pulling out of a bar who coincidentally didn't have his license either. I don't know what came of that. I was young at the time, and I was actually supposed to be the head of the state, and the kids as a whole were, but I was directed as like the voice. Mm-hmm. My grandmother and my aunt like kind of manipulated us to signing it over to them. They pretty much said that I was in college, Caitlin had a full-time job and a kid, everybody else was too young and they were in high school, and they gave us all these reasons and it sounded great. And they're like, you guys are going to be the ones making decisions. We're just going to be the ones making the voice or be your voice, and we're going to be taking care of all the paperwork and everything else. So we did, but a lot of the things that we wanted to do with this state in terms of like what happened, whether we go, because it ended up being a medical malpractice, and I don't know legally if I'm allowed to say that or if anything will come back to bite me for saying that, because we ended up not filing the medical malpractice. Mm-hmm. But that's what the kids wanted to go for, because there was nothing wrong with him. Like he broke his bones in his lower body and was on like surgery number 6. Mm-hmm. But besides that, you know, no head trauma, no, like his vitals were all good. Every single day he was in the hospital. There was no risk of death or anything, you know, no concerns by the doctors. And then after his 6th surgery, I was there the day before. it took a turn for the worse right after the surgery. They said he was fine, and then they said he was in critical condition, and then so they put him in a medically induced coma, and then he never woke up. To answer your question, though, we weren't on the greatest terms before it happened, but because of what happened when we were in the hospital, we kind of, hashed things out and, put everything behind us. And we got to talk things out a lot. I went to visit him multiple times throughout that 2 weeks, and I was there the day before. I remember with my girlfriend at the time, we went there, and it was she was from Youngstown.
Mm-hmm.
So we drove from Youngstown to Pittsburgh, which was an hour 15 minutes. And then we were going to go to Canfield Fair after. But there was like no time frame as to when we were supposed to get there. And we went to visit him maybe noon. We ended up leaving at like 4 or 5. And he kept like telling me like to leave, like after like an hour or two of being there. Like he was watching TV. We were talking. I went and got him a ginger ale from the cafeteria because the nurses wouldn't give him a ginger ale or something. And then he kept telling me like, oh, you guys can go, you don't have to stay. And I was like, I just like kept ignoring it and kept like talking. And he either wanted to go to sleep or I don't know, maybe he was bothered, he didn't want to talk anymore. But like an hour, maybe 30 minutes later, not even an hour, he told me, he kind of yelled, he raised his voice, he was like, I told you to leave. So we ended up leaving. And that was like the last time I talked to him because he ended up going into surgery the next day. And I remember I got a call from my grandma whenever I was in the middle of a workout in the rec center at YSU that he was in a medically induced coma and he was taking a turn for the worse. And I ended up leaving right then and there and drove straight down to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so the next couple of days, he was in a medically induced coma, and everything just kept getting worse. His organs started failing. He was on dialysis, and he ended up not making out of it. So that's how he passed. And it was hard. To answer your question, it was hard at first. It was very hard. I haven't cried very many times in my life, but that was one of them, and it was hard to keep it together. A lot of people say it doesn't get easier. It does over time. It just takes a very long time. Mm-hmm. And for me, I couldn't tell you how long it took. It was like day by day for me. It wasn't like week by week, month by month. And it wasn't like there wasn't certain things I could think of to make it easier. It was just something that I had to deal with personally. Mm-hmm. And, I had 5 siblings dealing with it as well. So I can't speak for their experience, but my own experience, it was a day by day thing, and it wasn't easy. There wasn't anything that made it easier. Thinking about the good memories and stuff just made me more upset. And I talked to a lot of people that said, they reached out there like, oh yeah, this happened to me, or even people that didn't have experienced any loss. They're like, you just need somebody to talk to, vent to, just let me know. And I wasn't the one to reach out to talk to people about my feelings much, but there was a couple times where I did throughout this. That didn't help either. So it's tough, man. It's just like as men and women are different. Even most men are different. But me, I'm not a person that shows emotions much. And it's just like somebody like me. It's just you got to find a way to deal with it for yourself.
And I think that's what's going to make you a champion, not only in the cage, but you're a champion of life for that. And I think, honestly, if your dad saw you today with everything, all the tribulations, all the struggle to see where you are, I think, honestly, like he would be really proud of you, and he would really say like that you are a success no matter what. And don't let anyone ever take that away from you, because honestly, at the end of the day, when no one else is clapping, you got to be your own best supporter. And obviously, it's like I don't know what to say, honestly, because I'm just jaw dropped by everything, because it's like, how old were you when he passed? You were what, like 18, or you were 19?
I was 19 turning 20. It was September of 2026 or 2016. But actually, how old was I? 18. I was 18. 19. I was 20. I was 20 turning 21, actually. So I'm 27. I'm 27 years old now.
So you're born in 95. Like because I always thought you and Evelyn were the same age to a degree.
No, I think Johnny's like 31 or 32.
Yeah, he's born in 91,
Turned
like me.
27. Yeah, I just turned 27 like 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
So he's quite a bit older than me.
I thought you guys were the same age because like you guys are represented, I think, by the same management. I was like, ah, nice, got some nice young guys there, but nice feeling
So that's a funny story too. We were both managed by separate guys before that, and so Sabah Hamasi was represented by Sucker Punch. And the way I met Brian was I fought on a show with Sabah,
mm-hmm.
and Brian came, and not once did Brian try to poach me. Not once did he talk to me about management. He was like just being my friend, bullshitting with me, having a good time, talking about shit unrelated to fighting whatsoever. And I was just like, this is a cool dude. And I was managed by Paradigm at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Paradigm just was like not doing what they said they were going to do. They weren't living up to expectations that I had. At the end of the day, I mean, I wasn't happy, but I was under a contract with them that I had to pay them X amount of money. And if I picked up another manager at the time, I'd be paying like 2 managers, So that's a big reason why I didn't leave right away. And Johnny was with, I think, first round management with Malky. And I think they're still cool. They're still friends, but he wasn't happy with the way that things were being handled there as well. And through Sabah, he knew Brian as well. And we both ended up coming into Sucker Punch around the same time. And so that's how we ended up both being managed by Sucker Punch. We were both at the same gym. We both have the same coaches. We work with all the same coaches. He works with Daya. Daya is the only coach that he works with that I don't. He brings King Mo with him to his fights too. And I talk to King Mo with him a lot. I bullshit with him. He gives me a lot of tips and stuff. He helps me out in my sparring, but he's not in my corner during my fights. He works with Tiago too. I work with Tiago. He works with Anderson Franca. I work with Anderson Franca. Mike Brown, our head coaches. So we have a lot of mutual. We have coaches. We have mutual coaches. We have mutual manager, and we have mutual gym. So it's weird how that ended up working out, and we're in the same weight class as well. We train together a lot. Like I said, recently I haven't because I'm injured, so I haven't been training for the past Tuesday will be 4 weeks since my injury. I was training with Josh Silvera, helping him get ready for his fight whenever it happens. And fortunately, it won't be that long of a layoff. At the time when it happened, I was like, fuck. I was like thinking the worst, I haven't been injured in 2 years. I've been taking such good care of my body, doing all my recovery stuff, doing my cryo, getting 9 hours of sleep a night, doing the hot baths, the cold baths, the massage therapy, the chiropractor, doing my own therapy at home with the massage gun and the TENS unit and heat, ice, all that shit. And then I'm like, after all that, and not getting injured for 2 years, boom, finally happens. And when I say injured for 2 years, there's been bumps and bruises here. I actually tore my LCL before the Tag Border fight, like 3 weeks before, and I got stem cell and PRP shot into it, and ended up just like wearing a knee brace for the rest of camp and made it to the fight. But I was pretty injured for that. I was injured before the Tony Johnson fight. Was having sciatica in my left leg, like the whole way down, like numbness in my foot and everything. And there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't do wrestling, like I couldn't do all my conditioning. So I was very limited in that camp as well. So I can't say that I wasn't injured because I was, but there were things that I could work through. There was nothing that like put me on the sideline where I was like, okay, I can't train at all until the sciatica thing. And I ended up taking 3-4 months off after the fight and ended up getting cortisone injections in my back.
Right. That's understandable. Yeah, man. Like but that's nuts though. Like how everything like kind of comes full circle. And now, like, and it's just nuts to see like what Sucker Punch is doing. Like they're just really doing good. And, you get to like work with the champ to a degree and such a nice guy. Like Johnny seems like such a nice guy. And at the time, look, I used to be a bit biased because I'm a big Gegard fan because Gegard is the one that got me into MMA. It wasn't GSP, even though I'm from Montreal. It was Gegard and
I heard.
Mousasi.
I was watching you and Dylan's interview together, your podcast together. I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why. So like, I hope I didn't like offend anyone, but like, I'm just like, but yeah, no, Gegard, like that's after the Eblin fight. It was a good lesson because Johnny taught me, you could have be fans of fighters, but you gotta respect everybody, and it's like that's what I've learned. And I'm just like, I mean, the only like the thing is, like the only thing is there are some fighters that I just don't like watching. I mean, because maybe their style or their personality. Like I like Colby Covington, but I feel he's taken stuff way too far, and now he's like just on this like you know, I hate to say it, but like if you watch his interviews, like he's like threatening John Anik, and it's like, bro, come on, man, like just don't, like it's not right. Like you got to carry yourself a certain way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Uh, Colby, to me, he's entertaining at times,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't hate his fight style. He has a high pace.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't have any power. And a lot of people don't like all the wrestling, but he's not always wrestling. Striking, wrestling, striking, wrestling, striking.
Mm-hmm.
That's what MMA is. And if I said I wasn't a fan, I'd be lying. I enjoy watching him, but yeah, sometimes he takes shit too far, and sometimes he says some dumb shit. But I would come to bat for him, with a lot of the shit. Like people say that he's racist. I don't believe
No,
that
I
he's
don't think
racist
so.
because
I don't think
just
so.
because he supports Trump and he wears American flags, like this is fucking America.
It's the greatest country on earth.
Yeah, I'm gonna be wearing a fucking American flag too, and I'm gonna fucking support our fucking president too. Well, I can't really support our president now because he's fucking.
Don't worry, buddy. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I understand. Trust me. I
yeah,
mean, like,
but fucking man, like I support our fucking military. I support our fucking police, but shit that goes on and political issues that fucking go on, like people let that influence them too much. So if you're fucking still supporting the red, white, and blue, people will take you as if you're super hardcore red, white, and blue. People take you as a racist.
no,
There's nothing fucking racist about it.
no.
America isn't white. America is a fucking melting pot of everybody. You know what I mean? And a lot of people don't see it that way. And I'm not here to argue for one side or the other, but that's not the way to look at it.
No, of course not. I don't think Colby is racist either. I think he just puts on a shtick to get views on the sport, and he's done a great job. I got to be honest. Does he take stuff too far? We all take stuff too far. I've taken stuff too far at times. Like today, I've been called out John Salter helping you, man. That's what it is. But look, that's what
that wasn't taking it too far, though, man. That was right on the fucking money.
It's the coffee, man. I gotta credit the coffee because the brain cells are firing when that happens. Also, I want to also ask because you said when you discovered, jujitsu at the time in wrestling, when you watched the first UFCs, who was the fighter or fighters that you were like, oh man, this is my sport? Like which fighters made you really want to pursue this?
So my favorite fighter, where I was like, wow, this guy's good, and like it made John Jones, but
okay.
I was watching like Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz and all of those guys, and Shogun Hua, and then I watched Rashad Evans win the belt, and then Leo Machida. I watched through all that, Brock Lesnar, Frank Mir. I was a fan for a very long time. There's a lot of stuff about the sport that I still don't know to this day, and there's fights that people will bring up and be like, I've never fucking seen that a day in my life, and I haven't. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I know everything about the sport that's happened in history. I don't. But as for analyzing the sport now and watching fights now and being able to not only game plan for my own fights, but pick apart people's weaknesses when I'm watching other fights that have nothing to do with mine, maybe not even my weight class, or learning from somebody, seeing somebody do something cool or something that I'm like, wow, I've never seen that before during a fight. I can take that away and put that into my own game. I'm very good in that sense. And I still to this day don't even watch all the fights.
Okay.
I'm not going to say that I do. I don't watch a card from top to bottom. And but I get the ones I care about, and I get the ones, like even some of the ones that I don't care about, that I don't know the guys' names or the girls' names. I'll watch them, but you're not going to catch me speeding home at 70 miles per hour to get to the beginning of the fight card. And you're not going to see me glued to the screen the entire time if I think it's a boring fight.
Right. Right. I understand. I'm the same way too now. I was obsessed before because when you're mildly, okay, look, I'm not trying to sound like a victim here, trying to use labels. So I'm mildly on the spectrum, as I was telling you when you watched me with Dylan. My brain works like I could remember this fight happened. I'm the same way with hockey. If you ask me which Pittsburgh Penguin got scored this amount of points, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be like Jaromir Jagr in like 1999. He got 96 points in 60 games about. But with I'm the same way with fighting. So, but I don't race home to watch all the fights. I got other interests too, like you. So I know exactly what it is. But if the day we will meet, because I'm planning to come to Florida soon, I want to, because I want to come to Top Team, get and also go to Kill Cliff as well. My goal is to always meet the pros that I spoke with, and I have a UFC visual history book. I don't care if you're Bellator. I don't give a shit if you're one or PFL. I want the people I spoke with that are the pros to sign that book. So when I bring it to Florida, Dalton, can you sign that book for me? Just to say it's like
hell yeah, man, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's be a real big honor because like I love doing this. Like I just love I love talking to the fighters just to show everyone how you're a regular guy like me, but you're just really skilled in a particular field. And at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, fighters are more cooler than pro athletes. Let's just be real. They're a different breed.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you meet hockey players, I've met some NHL players that kind of blow you off. They don't want to talk. They'll just take a quick photo. Same with football players or NFL players. And to ask this question, what was the one time you met like a pro athlete, like in another, like a sport you love, and you're like, and the saying goes, don't ever meet your heroes. Like, did that ever happen to you when you were like playing football or coming up in MMA? You don't have to give names, by the way. Just
No, it's never happened to me. I've met plenty of football players. I've met plenty of. I mean, I met Conor McGregor, and I was a big fan of Conor McGregor. Yeah, I wouldn't say it never happened or it never happened to me. I've never met somebody and was like, wow, that guy was a dick, or like he blew me off, and like everybody I've met's been super cool.
Nice. That's awesome, man. I've only had it with some hockey players, but that's because they're Russian. But the Russian players, they don't really like speak much English, and they're just a different kind of white people. Like as Brendan Schaub says, white Russians are white, different white people coming from a different land. But speaking of which, when it comes to other sports, I know you're a big football guy. Do you ever follow other sports too, like MLB, NHL, or NFL, obviously, or
You're not gonna like this, but I can't watch hockey. I can't.
really?
I tried. I've went to games. I've watched them from like a couple rows up, and I've watched them from the suites. Eating a bunch of fucking food and having the best view in the fucking house. I just can't get interested in it, man. I can't. I don't know why. And for me, it's just like watching guys skate up and down the rink and only score 1 or 2 points all game long. And it's like skate down, miss, skate down, miss, skate down, miss, and it just gets tedious for me. And with like football, a game could be 50-0, or it could be 3-3, or it could be 7-6, or it could be fucking 45-42. You know what I mean? You see all different, but you never see a hockey game where it's 15-0.
No, it's very rare.
Yeah.
When it comes to football, because I know you're a big fan of the Steelers, and obviously, this season was a bit of an adjustment. Now, I'm not a big football fan like you're well-versed in or other Americans. I apologize. As a typical Canadian, I'm apologizing here. And I got to be honest, because I'm a casual Giants fan. But obviously, it was a bit of an adjustment. Ben's retired. Where do you think the Steelers are going to improve this year? And how can they improve based on the transition they're in?
I mean, man, I don't know. I don't think Kenny Pickett's very good, personally. You threw 9 interceptions and had 6 touchdowns on the season. You can't give the opposing team the ball more times than you score and expect to win. You can't rely on your defense to score for you. Defense can stop the other team, and you can throw 10 interceptions or 10 touchdowns and 6 interceptions and expect to have a winning record on the season and make the playoffs. But when you're throwing 6 touchdowns and you're throwing 9 interceptions and you're relying on the team to intercept the ball and get in the end zone or get a fumble recovery and get in the end zone, it's not a recipe for winning the game. It's not at all. And especially when the dude, I think I seen a stat during the one game. They finally threw a touchdown. It was the George Pickens. It was over 20 yards or over 15 yards. And they were the first team since like 1920 something, and it was a team I never even heard of, like fucking Oilers or some shit. And there was the last team to go that long without throwing a touchdown of 14 or 15 plus yards was that team, the Oilers. Or I mean, I might even be completely off on the name. I remember there was a list of like 5 different teams, and the Steelers were on the list now. And that's just bad. Just to show you it's bad. And if you look at him and Mitch Trubisky's numbers are better from an efficiency standpoint. And he didn't throw as many interceptions. There was one game he threw 3 interceptions, and people were holding that against him. But the dude was slinging the ball downfield. He was trying to make something happen. He was taking chances. Mm-hmm. But when Kenny Pickett did the same thing, he threw it downfield to, I don't know if it was DJ or if it was George Pickens, and it got intercepted. Nobody blamed Pickett. They said, "Oh, he's taking chances," but Mitch Trubisky does the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, he's terrible," And then there was the other interception that game because Kenny Pickett had a game where he threw 3 interceptions. It was the Jets, and he didn't throw 1 passing touchdown. He had 2 rushes for a touchdown on the 1-yard line. People were like, "Oh, he's so good," and then he threw another interception where it was way too high for Pat Freiermuth, and Pat Freiermuth went up for it, being an athlete, being a fucking professional athlete like he is, trying to make the play happen. Went up, the ball was 10 feet in the air. Pat Fryer was 6 feet or 6 foot something, 6'3". And he goes up, tries to make the catch, and he tips it, and then it gets intercepted. That's not on Pat. That's on Kenny for throwing a bad ball.
I understand.
But people don't look at it that way. And then you have Najee Harris, who's hit or miss. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's not. He has like one of the lowest average, I believe, the lowest average yards per carry last season. Can't have that happen and expect to win. DJ drops the ball too much. We have too many holes in offense. I think Deontay Johnson needs to be traded so it's not dead cap. And then I think we need to either give Mason Rudolph a chance or Mitch Trubisky another chance. But they're not going to do that because if you go back, then you're ruining Kenny Pickett's confidence for the future, period. As soon as you go back, like you name him the starter, if you go back to the backup, there goes his confidence. Or disdain for the team.
I understand. It's like for me, like someone like with the Giants, I think as a Giants fan, I think the Giants they really defied expectations. As we were saying before recording, like Brian Dable used Kmart and Walmart wide receivers to make the playoffs. And I was mind blown. I had 0 expectations this year because I just want to make also something. I used to like the Cowboys a bit, but thank God I got off that. I got the shit slapped out of me when I realized how bad they are. So
how did you go from the Cowboys to the Giants? They're in the same division and they're rivals.
I'm going to tell you what happened. So I was an Ezekiel Elliott fan at the time. And I liked Zeke, but then what happened was it's like I don't know. I think it was just like something stupid with the Cowboys. Like it was just a fan base and just tired. I got disappointed. And then I have 3 friends who were Giants fans and they were wanting me to come to the Giants side. I had another friend who was a Packers fan that wanted me to become a Packers fan, but the majority won because I took a break from football for a year just to be like, I can't follow this sport. I'm just going to follow MMA and that's it. Not even hockey. I took a break from that too. Then when I came back, I was like, you know what? It's like Masvidal, the rebirth. I'm going to come back as the Giants fan. And if Cowboys fans hate me, so be it. But at the end of the day, New York fans are more logical to a degree. They're crazy too. All fans are crazy, but they're not as ignorant as Cowboys fans are, where they think every year it's their season.
I think that's every fan base though, bro. You don't know how many times my friends who are Pittsburgh Steelers fans we're winning it all this season. Bro, we got Kenny Pickett, we got George Pickett, we got Najee Harris. Look at us signing all these fucking veterans. And then we cut fucking Miles Jack. We cut fucking Terrell Edmonds. And we fucking, what are we doing here? We cut Robert Spillane. But people will still be like, we're going to make it all the way. It's like, of course, I hope so. But you're not going to catch me making a fool out of myself saying it out loud. If they prove it, I'll be like, I'll be like, I thought that all along. You know what I mean? I'll jump on the little bandwagon. But I'm not the Steelers fan that's going to sit there and be delusional about our team. I'm going to give you actual critiques, and I'm going to give logical responses based off of performances last season or what's going on now, based on around the team. And like everybody's like, oh, you got to give Kenny Pickett a chance. He's young, he's a rookie, but he's a 25-year-old rookie. He's 25. Fucking the dude's the same age as me. It's ridiculous. And yeah, he's gonna have a learning curve, but that's a pretty bad learning curve. When's the last quarterback that you've seen throw more interceptions than touchdowns in a season and then go on to win a Super Bowl? Me and my friends actually had this argument, so we went back and looked. Last quarterback, check this out. Last quarterback was Terry Bradshaw.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Terry Bradshaw. But it is a different game now today. That was in the 70s where it was primarily run.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Terry Bradshaw's stats, they're not fucking outstanding. It wasn't a pass game back then.
No.
And we had a stellar defense to back the offense up. And that's why we ended up winning Super Bowls. But Terry Bradshaw turned out to be a decent quarterback. However, he wasn't a great quarterback. And secondly, like I said, it was a different game. So it wasn't uncommon for quarterbacks to throw as many interceptions as they did touchdowns or more, and still have relative success. But to show you how long it's been 53 years. 53 years. 53. And my friend was like, oh, last quarterback to do it was Terry Bradshaw. And I'm like, exactly 3 years. He's like, but you told me to find it, and I did. And I'm like, yeah, but 53 years has gone by. That means since then, there has not been one quarterback in the last 53 years to throw more more interceptions than touchdowns and then win a Super Bowl by the end of his career. Mm-hmm. That goes to show you how rare it is. And you think that Kenny Pickett is that guy.
I get him, man. I'm still learning about football, to be honest with you. So I learned a lot from you right there, actually. So after this, like when it's football season, I'm gonna be like, Dalton, how does this position work exactly? Because I'm still figuring it out. It's a lot, but it's a great.
I'm not the expert either. I know football. I know football because I played it. Obviously I watch it just like every other football fan. Mm-hmm. But I played it. I played it in high school. I was very, very good high school football player. I played in college. I never made it to the NFL, obviously, but I played in college. I ended up going and continuing to play more football. I gained more knowledge because of that, and I believe I have a very high sports IQ. Period. If you watch me during my fights, I have a very high fight IQ. I'm very calculated. I'm not just going in there and swinging for the fences and trading with people. I'm very calculated in the way I fight, and I think I can analyze all sports that way.
I think that's a great way of looking at it. When I watch you fight too, I do agree. Like, you're not a brawler. Like, you're going in there calculated. You're going in there to and even if it's a decision win, it doesn't matter. Your job is to go in there and dominate, not just by knockout, but by using your other tools. So I see why you're one of the real threats to middleweight. That's why, when I watch your footage, I'm like, this is a different level. Like, they're brewing something at Top Team. I don't know what kind of nuclear Gatorade they're giving you guys in the Top Team. I don't know if it's Jorge Masvidal's guidance because of his experience, because I know you guys are all tight in a sense. I mean, look, I don't know what your relationship with Jorge is, but what another example of having a guy like him in the game to talk to whenever he's there.
I just think, it's just coincidence and luck that me and Johnny both ended up there and both ended up having the same manager and both ended up having the same coaches. Obviously, American Top Team makes us both better. Mm-hmm. And Johnny's a beast, man. The dude he deserves all the praise that he gets from people. It's due. And, but in terms of us, there's nothing that we're drinking there. You know what I mean? There's nothing like that because there's plenty of fighters there that aren't necessarily in the same position that we are. We're both at 185. He's the champ. I'm in the top 5. We're in the same weight class, the same promotion, same manager, same team, same coaches. Not many people can say that. Not many people in that position. So there's not. We push each other. We have other training partners that push each other, but we're also both hard workers and we both have a good skill set. We're both very good wrestlers. Me and his wrestling rounds, strict wrestling, when we're doing a wrestling practice, there was one day that it was the first person to 2 takedowns or whatever, won, and it was supposed to be 10 minutes max. And me and Johnny, after 10 different scrambles, I'm dead ass fucking tired. He has a fucking great gas tank, and it's 1-1 right now. I took him down first, he took me down second. and we're just fucking scrambling back and forth trying to take each other down. And we're in the side room in the fucking with the black mats, and there's a little cage there. And I look over in between a little break. I'm fucking gasping for air, and everybody's just running around the match, just staring over while they're running in circles, doing their cool down. And they've been doing it for 5 minutes already, you know. And Coach Mako's waiting for us to finish, you know. And we probably go for another fucking 2, 3, 5, maybe 5 fucking more minutes. I don't fucking know. Time felt like it was forever at that point because we were so. I was so tired. Johnny has a great gas tank, so he thrives later on. Me, on the other hand, I was like, fuck, like this is fucking miserable. But we were going for fucking 10, 15 minutes, like just trying to get a takedown. You know, it was already 1-1, and it was another 10 minutes on top of that before a fucking takedown was scored. And like I said, all these fucking guys and girls are running around the match just waiting for us to be done. They're probably like thinking like, fuck, just somebody just get a takedown. You know, because they're just running and running and running and running. They're like, I ain't a fucking track star. What do you guys just fucking, it's track star. None of you guys fucking score a takedown so you can be done and go home.
Amazing.
You know?
That's amazing. Well, Dalton, I mean, I guess like this is where we'll end it. I just want to say, first of all, you're an extremely well-spoken man. You're a better person outside the cage, just as you are amazing inside the cage. And I really hope, you know, you succeed in your journey. I see big things for you. You know, I know talent when I see it, and you're not just a talent inside the cage, you're a talent outside the cage too, with how you carry yourself. You're the definition of perseverance, and you never know who you're inspiring, man. So I just want to say, keep up the good work. Your story, it's incredible. And man, if you ever want to come back on again, dude, the door is always open. You know, this is not just about, you know, trying to get a soundbite. This is about, I love doing this because I build relationships with the fighters. You guys are humans too. You're an amazing person. And once again, as I said, your dad, oh, you know what? I do have one more question. And this is a tough one. If you win the belt and you have a chance to like have one more conversation with your dad, what is one thing you would want to tell him? And what is one thing you want to tell him? And one thing you want to ask him? If you could have one more moment with him.
I mean, if I had the belt, you know, probably I don't know what I would say, man. It would probably just be and enjoying the moment. We're trying to listen to what he has to say. I don't know. That'd be a very emotional moment for me.
I understand. I wanted to really, that's something I have to, I know it's a tough question, but don't worry. There's no right or wrong answer, but I just want to know, be proud of yourself. You're such an amazing person. And if people want to connect with you, where can they? Because we need to get your following count up. So I want people to know who the fuck Hercules is.
You do everything. I'm at Dalton Rosta on everything. DaltonRosta on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think MMA added at the end. Not hard to find. If they know my name, they can find me pretty easy.
Amazing, man. Well, I really want to thank you for doing this. And, you know, I felt like it was one of the best 50 minutes to an hour I've had. I love all my guests I have, but man, I really hope if you ever want to come on again, you want to tell your guys they're looking to get on a show, please, as I said, the door's open. I just want to help. I want to give everyone a platform because there's enough success to go around for everybody.
I'd love to, man. And next time I'm back at the gym, probably next week, I'll let people know as well.
Thanks, man. All right, guys, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button to Dalton Rosta's handles. He is an amazing person. He's a champion of life. Also like my shit too, but you know what? Like everyone's shit, because we all go farther together. Drewsperience, out.